and we are back on the WHHI-TV Daily News. Halloween is coming up, and here to talk about some safety tips is Cinda Seamon with the Fire Department. Thank you. It's good to see you.
You too.
Yeah. So really hard to believe a little bit that Halloween's right around the corner,
I know.
but it certainly is. And so we want to kind of talk about some safety tips. We're going to start with some injuries you might not think about,
Right.
but I guess happen frequently enough.
A couple of things, actually. Pedestrian fatalities are really up over Halloween, sadly, for a couple reasons. First of all, kids are out and about.
Yeah.
They're darting out of cars. They're not crossing at crosswalks. It's starting to get dark. Between 6 and 7 are the most fatalities during Halloween. Most people are getting home from work.
Right.
The other thing is a lot of these small kids, the toddler-sized kids, they're not in our line of sight when we're
Good
driving.
point.
We're
Yeah.
used to seeing adults. We're not used to someone only the height of the front of our car. So that's problematic as well.
Right.
We really have to be careful. We have to talk to kids about crossing at crosswalks, but that's a big danger. Halloween between 6 and 7 p.m., young children.
Yeah.
The other thing is jack-o'-lantern carving.
Okay.
Injuries.
Yeah.
Who thought?
Right. I really, when I read that you were going to talk about that today, I thought, oh gosh, I never really thought about
I
that,
know.
but I bet it's true.
Exactly. So we really don't want to use sharp knives. Use the kits that come, the little pumpkin carving kits. They're for a reason, and they work really well.
They do.
So
they
we
work
should be
better than a
using those.
knife, actually.
They do.
Yeah.
And they're not as dangerous. The other consideration is maybe parents carve the pumpkin and maybe kids scoop out the inside.
Right.
To keep it even more safe, or they draw a face on the
draw
pumpkin.
or paint on
You
it.
can't
Yeah.
go wrong with that.
Absolutely. So then we want to talk about costumes, because of course there's all kinds of things that could go wrong there. I think
Oh,
tripping
sure.
and masks and not being able to see. And well,
Exactly.
you're the expert, so tell us what you
Well,
think.
first of all, when you're purchasing, you want to look for like flame retardant or flame resistant. But again, like you said, does it fit properly? If we've got long billowing sleeves and long trailing fabric, and we're going past a pumpkin that has a real candle in it, that could be a problem. It's also a tripping hazard if it doesn't feel right, it doesn't fit right, and it's very long and flowing. So consider making sure the costume fits properly.
Yeah.
The other thing, if they're going to do face coverings, make sure the eye holes are big enough. Ideally, painting the face is much better. Sure. It's safer, it's more comfortable for the child, but if they insist on a mask or some sort of covering, make sure eye holes are big enough that they can see.
Yeah.
Consider putting some reflector tape on those costumes.
Right.
Make sure they're carrying a glow stick or a flashlight so they can see, and tell them to stay, on the sidewalks. We're only going to go to homes that are lit up, that we're familiar with,
Right.
and let's watch it when we cross the street. Let's take our time, let's cross at the crosswalks, that kind of thing. So, but yeah, just pay attention on those costumes when you're getting them ready to go out.
Right. Good. Very good points. And we got about a minute and a half left. Let's talk a little bit about parents, because we've talked a lot about the kids. But what are some tips for parents? What should they be looking out for, and how can they themselves stay safe?
Right. Well, the thing is, we don't think of Halloween as a drinking holiday. Like a lot of times, New Year's Eve, it's a big party. We know we're going to get a designated driver, an Uber. We sort of plan for that. Halloween, we don't. And next thing you know, we've driven over to a neighbor's to pick up the kids. We're hanging around. More drinking occurs. Parents have to be really careful about the alcohol consumption and where they are, and that they do still need to drive home. So pay attention to that. Be careful when you're driving back home because of kids running around. Even later, when the little kids are in, we've got kids dressed in dark clothes, the older kids running around. If you've been drinking, really pay attention to that. It's something we're not, we don't think of, because we don't think of Halloween really. We think of more kids with Halloween.
Right.
The other quick thing is pets. Very stressful time for pets.
Right.
Especially if they have to wear a costume. A lot of them don't like it. Just put a cute bandana on them and they'll be happy. Or put them in another room. A lot of times when trick-or-treaters come to the door, they're screaming, they're yelling, their costumes.
Well, even
it's
just the
scary for a
doorbell
pet.
going off 100 million times. I mean, every time the dog goes crazy.
And watch the candy too, because some candy is toxic for pets. And you know pets, they will eat the wrapper and all.
Yes.
So pay attention to your candy.
Yeah. Well, Cinda, it's always so great to see you, and you always have such great information. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
And after a quick break, Robin Zimmerman is going to talk to us all about the school referendum that's going to be on your ballots in November. So stay with us.